carry on our theme for this week, Volunteers Week on the Isle of Man, we got John Gill in the studio. John, how long have you been working for St John's Ambulance, and why did you decide to take up the role?
I started just over 8 years ago, specifically to be their Director of Training. Having had a background in education for many, many years, they felt I could bring something to the organisation when it came to training. Thoroughly enjoyed that role, and then about 4 years ago, I was appointed the Chief Officer, so that widened the role and widened my involvement in the organisation.
Bit more responsibility now then?
Yes.
So you talked about training then. How important or how integral is that to the way St John Ambulance sort of functions in the Manx community?
St John feel that no one should die for the want of first aid. So we aim to train as many people as we can to be able to provide basic life support, immediate first response to someone in crisis. And the crisis could be something such as bleeding, could be chest pains, worst case scenario, cardiac arrest, or choking. You know, you might be sitting in a restaurant, someone at another table starts coughing, obviously choking on some food. What we want people to know is what to do.
So it's about equipping people with that knowledge and what to do and how to respond, basically.
It is, and we can give people the basic training to help in those situations. And you don't have to be an adult to learn first aid. Currently, one of our community projects for this year, and hopefully continuing it on in the future, is we're providing all Year 6 primary school pupils with a day's first aid training, which we're putting into the schools. And so far, we've had 12 of our primary schools have had it, and we hope by the end of this school year to have got to all of the primary schools.
So how does a volunteer from St John Ambulance differ to the role of a paramedic, for example?
Well, the one thing I would say is we're not paramedics. Some of our members do go on to be paramedics. You know, we've got one of our cadets from many years ago is now in charge of the ambulance service. So we encourage people to develop their knowledge. We do actually have some members who are paramedics in their day job, and they're so passionate about first aid that in their spare time they come out and work as a St John volunteer. But the St John volunteer, unless they're a qualified paramedic, they're not paramedics, and we don't act as if we are.
What's the demand like then on St John's when it comes to responding and being called out or to help, support the emergency services?
Well, we have a memorandum of understanding with the Isle of Man Ambulance Service that in times of major incidents, we undertake to provide up to emergency frontline ambulances crewed with suitably qualified staff. So that's, for when the worst thing happens. But we do assist the ambulance service when they need us. Perhaps they've got a shortage of staff. We can put an ambulance out. Situations like that, we'd be sent to calls, but there would be a paramedic, either their duty officer or a paramedic in a response car, to back us up.
How big's the fleet? How big's the bank of volunteers?
The bank of volunteers. We've over 100 volunteers, and the volunteers are, there's the adult section. We also have a thriving youth cadet and badger part of the organisation, and some of our young people go on to seek careers in medicine. So from that point of view, we've got volunteers, and there's no upper age limit to being a member of St John, hence me sitting here at an old age. We are always looking for volunteers, and once you get involved in St John, it's sort of, you become a member of a very strong family, and you get sent to all different sorts of duties. You can be at the TT course, providing trackside cover. You could be at the grandstand providing first aid to all the people up at the grandstand, or you could be at somewhere like St Mark's Fair, or car boot sales, or the Gaiety Theatre.
So you're a constant community presence, perhaps, that people don't really necessarily pay attention to, not in a bad way. What I'm saying is, but you are a real insurance for the Isle of Man. When
you go on a duty, you come back and perhaps get asked, what sort of duty have you had? The answer I like to hear is, well, it was boring, we didn't have to do anything. Obviously, when we have to do something, somebody's in need of help. And yes, you will go to some duties and they don't need any help, but you're there if needed, in the background, and having that availability of people who can provide immediate support is of great comfort to organisers, because organisers' events have a responsibility to ensure that they have some sort of first aid cover.
Obviously, you've been working now for St John's for like you say, nearly a decade. What have you found in your experience? How valued or how valuable do you think the work of St John's is to the Isle of Man?
I think that the value of our work is reflected in the way that you're recognised by members of the public, that you're treated. They'll come up and talk to you and ask you, do you remember me? You came to see me, or, you helped me when I fell down. And it's those thanks and also the support we get financially from the island. We're very fortunate in people, in so much as the people will donate, they will support. We have flag days, not as many as we used to have, but they're always well supported by members of the public.